Yo, what is up? I'm going to show you guys how to rig these pants. I know, another rigging tutorial, but this is going to be the rigging tutorial. So none of the others matter. These are some new pants that I have created. They'll either be out soon or they're out now. I guess it depends how I feel. If I end up finishing the pants and then posting the video, or posting the video then finishing the pants. Alright, so first thing you're going to do is select your pants. We're going to go to the little tool wrench modifiers. Just for reference, I am using Blender 5. It should be similar across all blenders. They all have a search feature when you go to add a modifier. But what you're going to look for is edit, data transfer. We're going to grab our source object. We're going to select our body. And then we're going to select a vertex data so that we can copy the vertex data and the vertex groups of the base that we're using. We're going to press generate data layers, and then we're going to apply this modifier. And right now we have vertex groups. If you go to the data tab, you can see that we now have weight data. So the pants are rigged. Not really, but if we go to, after we're done data transferring, I'm going to get better at this, guys, I promise. I'm going to be making more tutorials for you guys. But what we're going to do now is go back to the modifiers properties. We're going to add a modifier. We're going to go to deform, and we're looking for armature. This is just so that we have armature data on the mesh. So we'll go here, select the armature that you're using in your scene. And as you can see, now we can move the pants. It looks so scary, but I promise it's not scary. Okay, it's just gonna take some little finagling. This is why I chose these pants for this tutorial, in case you run into similar issues. What we're gonna do is we're gonna select the armature. If it's hidden, click the little eyeball and it will show it. You should know that. Go into the top left where it says object mode, and we're gonna click on pose mode. All right, we're gonna grab a bone, make sure our symmetry is activated so that when we move this bone, it'll move the other bone. It does look scary. It's okay. We're gonna fix this. So without messing with anything else, we're gonna go back to object mode. It's gonna be in this pose. So we're going to select our armature, and then we're going to shift select the pants, and we're going to go into weight paint mode. And now all I'm going to do is hold Alt on my keyboard and left click the bones that I want to weight paint. Okay, so as you can see, we can see where all the weight data is as we select the different bones. All right, so I'm going to select the hip bone. It's just where I like to start. I like to get rid of a lot of the stretching. I'm going to go into wireframe mode just so that I can see the polygons and how they're stretching a lot easier. While in weight paint mode, select this blur tool. And then I like to put the strength to maybe like 3, 4. You don't want it to be too strong because sometimes it can like mess with other stuff. And we're lazy and we don't want to fix excessive weight stretching. You're just going to literally, after you click blur and you have your settings all set up in the size that you would like, we're just gonna start blurring, and I'm just holding my left click and going across this so that it doesn't look as crunchy. After we're done with that, we can hold Alt and go to the next bone, and we're just gonna go around our mesh and keep doing this. Just trying to get all this cleaned up so that these start to form better. That way you don't get like a weird stretching in the crotch area. I do know some people use a tool for this. I think it's called robust weight or something. I don't really believe in tools. Call me old or whatever. But I don't really believe in using those tools. So I'm not going to show you that way. And there will not be a tutorial on how to use that, because we're better than that. And we're cool. And we're going to show people how awesome we are by doing it by hand and how much we hate ourselves. Love ourselves. So now we're going to go to our little knees. We're just going to keep on doing this. I feel like fucking, probably shouldn't cuss. I feel like Bob Ross. You know what I'm talking about? Talking to nobody. But yeah, we're just going to keep weight painting this. Yeah, it looks so scary, but like I said, I promise this is all going to be cleaned up. I don't know if I'm going to speed this up or I'll let you guys listen to my commentary, because it's going to increase the time span of the video. So as you can see, it's kind of like starting to go to the other side. Since we're at this point, what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go into the top left where it says Vertex Selection. This will allow me to select specific parts of the mesh. So if I click on this point, right? and I press L on it, it'll highlight that whole mesh, but we don't want to highlight the pants. So what we're going to do is we're going to highlight these straps that I have that are stretching. So I'm going to hover over the vertex that I want to select. I'm going to press L to select that entire mesh. Now this whole strap has been selected. Now we're going to go back to the bone selection, and we're going to select this bone because it's weight painted over here, obviously. We're going to go back to vertex selection since we have this bone selected, and I'm going to go to my gradient tool, and I'm going to change the weight to 0 so that I'm taking away weight. I'm going to put the max to 100 or 1 all the way, and I'm going to be using linear. Press left click and drag. It will unweight paint in that linear path. So I can get rid of all of that weight paint data that's connected to this leg. And as you can see, this part's just not weight painted to the leg. So we'll fix that. It's a little annoying, but it's fine. So we're going to do the same thing to this leg. We're going to select its strap by pressing L, select the other bone, and unweight paint that bone. So it's going to be the same thing now. And then we're going to go back to the other bone, swap the weight to 1, and we're going to make sure that this strap is weight painted to this side of the leg just by dragging, because we're on linear, so when I pull it this way, it's just going to weight paint all of that. See this dotted line, these marching ants that we're pulling? It's pulling that linear gradient in the direction that I want to go. Let me know in the comments what you would want to see as a tutorial, because that would also help me out, actually. We're just going to unweight paint all of that. So I'm not going to have anything selected anymore, so I'm just going to go to bone selection. So now we're weight painting the whole mesh by itself, and I'm going to get rid of this by swapping the weight back to 0. Boom. I literally just dragged. That's like the radius that we have. All right. And because it's at 0, we're telling that we want to take away that weight. But we're not trying to take the weight away from this leg. That was for demonstration purposes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of all of this weight paint data because we don't want any of this stretching. So we're removing all of that weight paint. And this one might be a little hard angle. Some of these might be hard angles to get at, but it's fine. I'm actually going to select this with that L feature since it's just this strap piece just to make it easier for my life. And then we'll do that. And then we can actually weight paint this other part that we didn't weight paint. And I'm actually going to swap to radius. Does the same thing, but except it's not a gradient, it's on a radius. So I'm going to add weight, and I'm just going to weight paint that. It's okay if it looks choppy like that. It doesn't really matter, technically, since it's on this side. It does look shit, but I am going to clean it up, I guess. And add proper weight to it just so that it looks clean for my OCD. But it is technically on the other side now, so that's all you have to do with that leg. And then you do the same thing with this. And since we have all that work, some of this weight paint data, same thing. Weight, 0, linear, drag, done. Same here, drag, done. Click on this bone, drag, done. We're going to get rid of this. It's not connected right there. It's not connected right there. Okay, there it is. I'm going to go to radius so that I don't take out this crotch area because I really don't want to mess that up. I don't want to have to fix that manually. Let's get rid of this knee weight paint. Just using radial right there. Gonna go over to this leg and we're gonna go back to the blur tool because we need this strap that goes in between the legs to stretch nicely so that people don't get angry at me when they get the product because no one wants to buy a product and have all this ugliness. And if your stuff looks like this, do better. All right, end of story. You want to try the different angles to get this. And if you're wondering how I just move the leg like that, all I'm doing is holding Alt, left clicking on the bone that I want to select, and from my viewport, I'm just pressing R on my keyboard to rotate the bone. R means rotate. So I'm going to clean up this part right here. These straps don't matter because we're going to add bone, so don't really worry about this right now because it's in the joint area. What I'm going to do later is add a bone that goes down here so that this part like moves, so it won't be a big deal. Just fixing up the hip area. So if I rotate this, now it doesn't have absurd stretching, and if we go back to the shaded view, got to give my blender a second so it dies. All right, so if we go back to shaded view, we can like move the pants and you can see that we don't have, okay, well it does stretch like that, but it's not like a crunchy stretch like what most people have, you know. It's somewhat more tolerable. Like I said, we're going to start working on these straps now so that we don't get this weird crunchiness. So we're going to give them their own bones. So I'm going to go in pose mode, press A to select my entire armature, and I'm just going to press Alt R to reset all the rotations. What I like to do is I like to go click on the armature and go into edit mode, and what I'll do is I'll just duplicate these. Make sure your symmetry's on so that it duplicates the bones on the other side. I'll just press Shift D, and I'm just going to drag it to where I want it. I'm going to resize it, and I'm going to put the bones right here because I think it would look cool if this whole strap moves. A lot of this is kind of like messing around and finding out. So you're going to mess up and that's going to be all right. But soon you'll find like things that work. Like, okay, so this bends at this joint. So things near the knees can look a little crunchy sometimes. Like you can see it like bending right here. And that's hard to fix, especially when it's like loose mesh. So you could either have connected mesh but some people don't like straps on the pants. So I like to leave the straps a separate, like they're not joined to the main set of pants in case people wanted to take the straps off. Helps for optimization purposes for whatever you're using the. But now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to weight paint mode. And remember that tool I told y'all, the vertex selection? So we're just going to select just these straps and the little hooky parts maybe, and this little part, and then the tightener right here. And I'm gonna go back to bone selection. I want to select this bone and then go back to vertex selection, and I'm just gonna make sure my weight is set to 0. We're going to linear, and what I'm gonna do is I like to start from the bottom of the bone and kind of just like drag up, and then like literally that's it. So I'll go to the next bone. We're going to go back to bone select the next bone, go back to vertex select, weight paint that. Now we're going to go back through and unweight paint what we don't want because this bone has its own weight and we don't need it moving. So we're going to unweight paint that so it's just isolated. And then we're going to click the next bone, unweight paint that, clean it up a little bit because it still looks a little crunchy right here when it goes too far. See how that side doesn't? Yeah, so we're going to do that. And then, let's see, where's this leg? Here we go. So we're going to go back to this leg, go to the blur tool, and we want more of this strap to be weighted with that part of the leg. So I'm just kind of going to go ham in there. Rotate that. Some of this is still connected to the leg. So going back to the leg. I'm just going to grab the radial tool for that. 0.8. Looks like might be connected to the knee. Yeah. There we go. Clear a lot of that up. Now we have a lot nicer movement with this. So in motion, it'll look a lot nicer. Clean some of that up right there. Always got to test it. And then you do the same thing to this side. So now if we go into pose mode after weighting these, we can see that they work. If we move our legs, you might see this. It's just because the bones aren't parented. So what we're going to do is go back to edit mode, select these, make sure symmetry is shown, and then shift select the bone that you want to connect that to. Just press parent, make, keep offset. Now when we go back to pose mode, you'll see that they move with our pants, and these will wiggle in game or in Blender for your animations and stuff. We're going to do that again with these. These are going to be significantly easier. So I'm just going to select that. We're going to go back to our bones, select the bone that we want, make sure symmetry is on, Control D to duplicate, and we're just going to drag that through here. So we're just doing the same thing that we did with the pockets. Then we're going to go back to the blur tool, clean up this bend. Now we're just going to do that same thing to this side. We're going to edit mode. We're going to add these to the calves, parent, keep offset, make sure that symmetry thing was selected. Now, we have some white painted pants. It'll probably be faster for you because you're not commenting everything that you're doing. I'm not the best at commenting what I'm doing with videos, but that is how you rig some complicated pants, I guess. By the way, just a little disclaimer, not claiming that this is how I weight paint stuff in Blender. There's multiple ways to do it. Whatever way works for you, this is just how it works for me. And this is how I do it every time I make an asset. It will be a lot faster for you guys because you're not having the commentary, everything. I do hope that you guys enjoyed the tutorial. Please leave a comment, you know, like, subscribe, I guess. All that stuff. I'll have little parts on TikTok maybe. Liking really helps me. Interacting with the video really helps me. I hope to catch you all in another video, tutorial, whatever I decide to post. Deuces.